Hi friends, welcome to Aisha's DIY. Today we are going to design a necklace using the GGC treasure bag, and this is the first project that I'm doing with the deep sea jewels. If you have this bag, you can follow this exact pattern and make this necklace if you would like, or even if you have something like this in your trash, you can in your stash. Really sorry, in your stash, then you can try this as well. So for this I'm using 6mm pearl strand that we got from the Ggc'sTreasureBag treasure bag. And also I'm planning, I'm not so sure, I just pulled this 3.5mm blue roundel as well, plus these shell charms with the pearl, and this finding also we got from the box, and also the toggle clasp that we got from the box. So from my stash I'm using some bead stringing wire. This is nylon coated bead stringing wire. This is 7-strand nylon coated wire, and that's what I'm using. And also we will use some crimp tubes to secure the toggle clasps, and if I'm planning to use, maybe I will use some 26 or 24 gauge silver wire. So first things first, I have decided to use a 24 gauge wire, and I still keep it in the thing so that it doesn't tarnish. It is an artistic craft wire and it is silver plated. And first of all, we are going to design the pendant. Okay, so I have cut this roundel as well. I'm planning to wire wrap this on top, so I take the end and I just keep it on top of this finding and just uh, wrap it around. Actually, not this side. I am so this way. I'm just going to do a couple of wraps over here. Once it's secure, I need to pull this off. Anyways, I'm just gonna cut about, say, a feet, not more than that. I'm just gonna eyeball it, but I will let you guys know how much wire I have used. So this is about, say, 14 inches. Okay, so I just run my fingers through to straighten the wire. I'll just push this over there so that I just don't pop anything out of the place. So here we go. I add a roundel. Okay, keep it on top just like that. See, this end is actually poking me, but that's okay. We can actually, I'm missing my pliers. I think my daughter was playing with it and she left it somewhere. It's been a month since I sat down to work with my stuff, so I'm just a little bit I'm just squishing the wire and tucking it down so that my fingers don't get hurt. I would suggest you do the same too. Keep the roundel there, bring it in between the loops in the bottom. Okay, and then now it's on top again. Again, I take a roundel and feed it through the wire right here. Again, do the same. Okay, just one wrap, and then again feed a roundel through the wire. And then hold it on top. I want the roundel to sit on top of this finding, so that's why I'm doing that. Look how we are creating the wrap. I just want to go around this finding until I reach this spot and give it a 3 wraps and cut it off. This is what I'm gonna do. Okay, I'm just gonna continue wrapping this around this finding until I reach the end, and then I'm gonna show you guys how we are going to embellish the bottom of the finding. There are loops in the bottom. This is one way of doing it. If you want, you can have some head pins and then make some dangles and put it down in the loop. That is also another way. So since I wanted to use the shell charm that we got, I'm going to hang it with this in this loop with some jump rings. There is something that you need to pay attention with, that the loops are horizontal to the finding. That means it's flat and flat. If you put it down, the loops are like this, not like this, right? It's like this, not this way. So if you put a jump ring, then it will be perfect, for that, because the loops here and the loops in the finding are the same way. If you put a jump ring, it will clasp like this. Otherwise the loops are like this, right? So that's what I'm talking about. In some findings, the loops would be vertical to the finding. This is horizontal, right? So I mean, it's parallel. Sometimes it will be vertical. In that case, you would have to use 2 jump rings. In this case, you don't have to. It's perfect for our pattern that I'm looking to make here. So I suggest 24 gauge is the best thing to do. If you are doing 26 or a thinner gauge than that, then obviously you will have to do a couple of wraps. A single wrap won't be enough, in my opinion. So you'll have to use a couple of wraps. And also the thing is, the lesser the number, the thicker the gauge. I'm saying this for people who doesn't know about this wire gauge, because if you think higher the number, thicker the gauge, no. Higher the number, thinner the gauge. So the 20 gauge will be thicker, 28 gauge will be thinner, right? So if you can see, I started wrapping on top of the loop here. So I'll just go one more and I'm done with. This blue color kind of matches the wash that they have given in the shell, the light blue. So that's why I was thinking of using this roundel, which is also from a stash. And this is the last bead I'm going to put. So I'm just going to wrap around a couple of times, 4 times to be exact. And then I just bring this in the back and then snip this off with my wire cutters. Okay, so I still have this much left, probably about, say, 6 inches. So 10-inch wire, take 10-inch wire, you'll be comfortable working, and just squish that and make it flat, sit flat, and not poke around anything. It looks really pretty in my opinion right now. So I'm ready to use my jump rings from my stash to add the shell things. So we need 2 sets of pliers for this. I like to use my bent nose pliers and needle nose or flat nose pliers. I usually use my tweezer nose. As I said, my daughter has misplaced it. I need to look for it now. So here we go. Use 2 sets of pliers, or there is a tool to open and close a jump ring. It looks like a ring that you can wear on the finger that you can use to open and close a jump ring. You can use that as well, but this is what is more comfortable for me, so I'm using this method. So hold your jump ring this way and your bent nose pliers, and just see this. You just need to align those 2 ends so that it completely closed, like it's close flush. So now you open it. Okay, I'm gonna start with the end. So the end loop, and then I'm just going to add this winding over there, and just you can add 2 jump rings if you want. 2 jump rings, the more the better, the secure it is. And you can see it came this way. But look which side is pretty, and then you can, kind of, I think the other side looks pretty to me. So I'm just going to change the direction of the finding, because this one is not two-sided, obviously. So here we go. Remove it. Take the pendant or the finding, and then put it the other way. You hear the click, that's when it's secure. So go back and forth, always this motion, never do this motion, or you will distort the shape of the jump ring. Okay, so we attached one. Now I will attach the next one. So I counted about, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 is there. So all the 5 will go really nicely. So here we go to the last. Make sure it's completely flush, otherwise this might fall off. Then now the center. So 13 means 7th one, right? 3, 3, 6. This is the one. Hold it, use your jump ring, go back and forth, and then open this. This is the one, and I'm gonna go like this. Just hold this and go back and forth. Okay, now again take another jump ring, open it up, add your finding, find the middle in between these two. So 1, 2, and 3. Always these loops are odd numbered, so it comes really easy for us to actually do this. Okay, one more, then we are good to go to add our necklace part, the chain part. So here we go. I'm using a 6mm jump ring, I believe. You can use a smaller one as well, whichever you have available in your stash. I really like the way this has turned out to be, the pendant. Now we can work on the necklace part, the chain part, right? The beaded chain part. So you can do it multiple ways. You can do a beaded chain with the wire. You can do it, but I'm going to string this, and I'm going to string in the 7-strand bead string wire. The pattern I'm going to follow is, I'm not so sure what I'm going to follow, but I'm going to use both the roundel and the pearls. We have 1 strand of the roundel and 1 strand of the pearl. Since I have used both in this pendant, maybe I will use this. as simple as it is. But also I can add seed beads in between to give it length. But this necklace, this pendant, I don't want it to be long, so the necklace length, I want it to be somewhere between 16 to 18 inches, so that it sits at the collarbone. And if you don't want to add the roundel, you can just go ahead and add the pearls and then call it a day. It's totally up to you. Whichever pattern you want to follow, you can follow. And then or you can do as like 3 and 1 roundel after 3 of the pearls. That is also nice, so that you can include both the beads that you have used in the pendant, so that you can tie that factor in. I like this, so I'm just going to do this, and then I'll come back and show you guys how I'm going to crimp this end and also add the toggle clasp. So I just strung a little bit of the pattern that I followed here. So the thing is, this pendant is about 3 inches long. So I know it's like a U shape, but approximately it's 3. So if I'm thinking of making an 18-inch necklace, I subtract this 3 from it, so it's 15, and I subtract also I also add 1 inch for the toggle clasp. That is that'll be so I subtract that also from the necklace total length, so it'll be around 14, and then each side 7 inches would suffice. So already strung about, say, 7 inch exact, right? So I'm good to go. As you guys can see, 7 inch exact, right? So I'm good to go to add or crimp this end. Let me find my crimp tube. So I'm going to use the silver crimp. I'm going to use 2 of them, or 1 is also enough, doesn't matter. So I'm just going to take, this one is longer, so I'm going to take that. And also I'm going to see if I'm going to continue with this or I'm going to use a crystal to start with. That sounds about right. Okay, and then I'm just going to go through this loop in this finding back through our crimp tube. Okay, and then pull this through and make this loop as small as possible. Okay, and then make it always crisscrosses inside the crimp tube, so you need to make sure that it's parallel and not crisscrossed, so that you get a nice and firm crimp. So I'm just going to flat crimp it. So somebody has asked in a previous video, why do you flat crimp all the time? And the answer is, I find it best to flat crimp these kind of crimp tubes, but if you are using the beadle-on crimp tubes or crimp beads, I would suggest I use the crimping pliers to crimp. But if I'm using this, I would just prefer this method. So you can just snip off this excess tail, or you can put it under the bead, but I'm just going to snip off a little bit. I still have a short tail, as you guys can see, but that will hide under my beads. Naturally the roundel and the pearls have bigger holes, so it just hides there. So I'm just going to push all these beads down here, and I'm gonna cut about say an inch of the wire. Take another crimp tube, so another crimp tube, and we have our toggle clasp. So if this is the necklace, okay, so this is the right hand side, right? So if I'm doing the right hand side, I would like to do this end. So it's just a preference. So how, if you're right handed, obviously you want the toggle, the bar part of the toggle to be on the right side. That makes any sense for you guys? So I prefer that way, so I'm just going to add this part here, back through the crimp tube and back through a pearl. And now I'm just going to pull the ends with my pliers and just keep this in a round form. You know why? Otherwise it will become stiff and your necklace will not flow nicely. So now I will go ahead and crimp. That will give that extra little amount of space that we need for our necklace to be really flexible. Cut this tail off. So this is what we have. And then one side of the necklace is done. Now concentrate on the other side. I'll do the same as I did here. So I have strung the other side as well. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a crimp tube again and feed it through the loop in the pendant that we have created, and then just go through the crimp again, push it as much as you can, make sure the wires are not crisscrossed inside the crimp tube, which we don't want it, and then go ahead and crimp it. And then take your wire cutters and cut the tail a little bit and push forward all the beads. One thing I did a mistake on this side is I finished it with a pearl because I thought it looks good, but the bar end of the clasp will not go very well with the pearl here. So I'm just going to end it with the crystal this side. I know it's a little bit of a difference between these two sides, but I'm okay with it. So I'm just going to take another crimp tube, because the toggle bar has to go like this, so it is better to have a thinner bead right next to the crimp in this case. So I'm just going to finish it off with that, going through the crimp and a couple of beads if possible, pulling this and also keeping this in a U format so that it is not stiff. Go ahead and crimp it, and then you can snip off this excess wire after the bead. So now our necklace is completely ready and done. Let me just move all of these things. I don't need any more jump rings. You can use a thicker gauge. I prefer to use a thicker gauge, but this is what I have in my stash, so I used it. See this is what I'm talking about. If you do this with a bigger pearl, it will be a little bit difficult, so it's always good to have, thinner bead at the end of the toggle bar side. So here is what our necklace looks like. I really like this necklace. It's a beach themed and at the same time it's very dressy. I hope you guys like this tutorial. If you do, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon for notification. I do upload videos couple of times a week. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye bye.